So Llama 4 released. I have thoughts about it. Might as well talk about it. None of my thoughts overall, though, are like very good for the future of transformers and the future of a lot of investments as we know it. Just being flat out honest with it. So here's the research paper that they put out, or the blog that they put out. The Llama 4 herd, the beginning of a new era of natively multimodal AI innovation. And then, so if you aren't aware, just breaking it down, they released three models. Well, they've released two so far. The top one being Llama Behemoth, which is a 2 trillion total parameter model with 288 billion active parameters and 16 experts. Llama 4 Maverick is 17 billion active parameters, 128 experts, 400 billion total parameters, and 1 million context window. Next, we have Llama 4 Scout at 17 billion active parameters, 16 experts, 109 billion total parameters, and 10 million context window. There's a lot that I want to talk just starting from here. So just starting from here, let me start off at the top, right? So 2 trillion parameters. What I want to highlight and benchmark within this is that we aren't going to see a model that is of a significant improvement from here. Just calling it now. 2 trillion parameters is absurd in and of itself. There's not going to be anything that's going to actually run it. So to put that into perspective for you, for 109 billion parameters, their smallest, the Llama Scout, the small model, you can run a quantized version of that on an H100 GPU, which an H100 GPU is a very enterprise grade non-consumer GPU unit. And it's let's say a few $1,000s. And then, so that's for Llama 4 Scout, which is 109 billion parameters. And that's the quantized version of Llama Scout. You would to 4-bit quantization. So let's say that to actually fully perform what Llama 4 Scout would be, let's say, I'll just roughly benchmark it and say that we would need 10 GPUs, 10 enterprise grade GPUs. And then we need to go to 2 trillion parameters. So we would need 200 enterprise grade GPUs to run Llama 4 Behemoth. And these are just roughly benchmarking it out, right? And then no one has 200 H100 GPUs, unless you're Meta, right? But so overall, and to train that, you had to be Meta, right? To train 2 trillion parameters, it's so scaling up. We have already scaled, right? People are used to Moore's law and scaling within technology and things like that. We've already scaled as far as these are going to go. You're not going higher than 2 trillion parameters. I don't think people understand the overall size of that. I even have a hard time comprehending the size of it, right? It's literally like a nuclear power plant. That's what it is, right? And then so off the top, that's the biggest and most important thing to point out here. The secondary thing that it catches my eye very specifically here is, so Llama Scout has a 10 million context length window, whereas Llama 4 Maverick has a 1 million length context window. And then why do you think that is? And then so the reason why that is very specifically because you run into scaling laws when it comes to the attention mechanism. And then so even if we can, which it looks like Llama 4 Scout 10 million context windows, so they are, and they're utilizing rope, which I'll talk about that further too, right? But so they're utilizing that to get up to 10 million with Llama 4 Scout, but even then they can't contain it and they can't scale it up, because once you scale up to 400 billion parameters, since it scales quadratically mathematically, they literally can't do it. So it doesn't, you could have the smaller model be up to 100 million parameters, but it's never going to be in a large, you're never going to have Llama 4 Behemoth with the 10 million context window. You can't. They would have done it, right? With Llama 4 Maverick would have it. So highlighting that, just pointing like these are like things that are like 100% showcasing like this is it as far as scaling of these things, like and like I mean no amount of wishing, hoping, or etc is going to change that scaling equation. Like scaling up is gone. This is it. This is the max that we're going to get from scaling up. And then so let's see, just going through the highlights here. This is all a lot of marketing stuff, right? That you can fit it onto, like you can fit it onto one a single NVIDIA H100 GPU if you quantize it to 4-bit quantization, which I mean it's kind of worthless then overall. But then let's see. The whole mixture of experts architecture, that's cool. I like the mixture of experts. And then so this is the architecture overall, right? And then so how it works is that it has one expert that's like always on. So we'll call that expert 0 is always on, and then it had, or sorry, like so it would be the always on expert is outside of the routed experts. So it would be the blue box is the always on expert, the shared expert. And then you have they're showing off the behemoth model in this instance. So then you would have it routed to the different, or the 128 experts, and then you have it routed to the routed experts. And then so in this instance, expert 0, expert 1, and expert 15 is what it picks, and then those 4, so those 3 routed plus the always on, the shared expert, are then what creates the output. So I mean pretty cool overall within that. The major significant breakthroughs that I stick out to me that are the like the 128 experts is sticks out to me a lot. I like the concept of the shared experts, so this always on expert, and then you have the routed experts, so the 2 different experts. That is kind of a unique spin and a unique angle on that as well. So and then this is a fully multimodal model, and then so what that means is that like they created the fusion mechanism like way lower on the scale, like much lower down. So it's not going to, like, the thing is that reading through it, I don't think that they made the same advancements with regards towards multimodality that you've seen with the recent GPT-4o model. Nothing that I've seen has it incorporated within these models. I would assume that it will by the time we get to Behemoth, right? But with these current models, like, I think that when it comes to the image generation portion of it, there is still a portion of it that 4o has ahead, and my guess within it has to do with essentially like reinforcement learning images, and like there's a paper that was put out recently by like Microsoft and a few other companies that I think is like kind of the formula that is utilized for the 4o model, for like the GPT model for like its current image generation, and it's not within this. So just highlighting that overall. Other thing that they mention within this is that the models are trained very specifically and very heavily on reinforcement learning over supervised fine-tuning. They state it very specifically within the release, and as they go through it, that they actually like reduced and kept reducing the amount of supervised fine-tuning that they did to the model as opposed to reinforcement learning, and they like, and even for Behemoth, they ended up like pruning the data set like more and more, and they pruned it down to like essentially like for supervised fine tuning, it's like only hard problems, right? Like, and that's the kind of what they would give it is like a very like a customized data set. Like they would cut out anything that was deemed easy, and then they like they just like created a very like narrowed data set, and trained the model on that a lot, and then a lot of reinforcement learning on top of that overall. And then, and then we get into the actual benchmarks here within this. And then, so first thing to point out within this is that the cost per token is really cheap compared to GPT-4. Like GPT, I mean, if you're still using GPT-4o, as far as like inference at this point, like you're wasting a lot of money. Like this chart, I think highlights that very specifically for you. Like, I mean, look at Gemini 2.0 Flash, 17 cents, right? Like I talk to people about this all the time. Like, anybody that brings up this question to me in general, which model are you recommending right now? I'm recommending Gemini 2.0 Flash because it's 17 cents. Like, and that's just, I mean, why do I recommend it? Because it's 17 cents per million tokens. Like, that's like 100% why I recommend it. Is it the best model? No, I don't think it's the 100% the best. I think like maybe DeepSeek's a little bit better. Probably this Llama 4 Maverick's gonna be a little bit better. And GPT 4.0 is like on par with it, but like so it's 17 cents. Like that's, like that's what matters to me at the end. And then if you look at these benchmarks, like it's I mean, Google is in a good spot. Like Google's crept up in this, just pointing that out and highlighting that. But so when we look at these benchmarks across the board, what you see is, so again, you like, this is Facebook's own benchmarks, right? So they're not going to release a benchmark where they're losing, especially with their their latest releases, so you have to deal with that, and then as well as like these are like benchmark creep, etc. Like a lot of things that go into that, but even then, and still, like not a single one of these benchmarks is off the board. Like wow, right? Like when we go to image reasoning, it's barely beating Gemini 2.0 Flash on this, and then so highlighting that, like they're not comparing and competing this model against Gemini 2.5, and then so I have to assume that if we were looking at these same benchmarks, Gemini 2.5 would be beating Llama 4 Maverick. So what that, like, I'm calling that out very specifically and very clearly in this, right? And then so my assumption is that Llama 4 Maverick, as being released, is not going to be as good as Gemini 2.5 currently is. And then so with that in mind, my whole big thing within this, right, is that like we've reached the kind of the end limit as far as what is possible with Transformers architecture, like beyond scaling. Like unless there's another miracle that occurs, you're not going to see any major improvements from this point forward with Transformers. Like it's just, I mean, this is it. This model has the kitchen sink thrown at it, but it's not like with the kitchen sink thrown at it, it's not. It's losing to DeepSeek on these benchmarks here, and then I guarantee you it's losing to Gemini 2.5 on these benchmarks where they're benchmarking against Gemini 2.0 Flash. Not even Gemini 2.0 Pro, Gemini 2.0 Flash, right? So there's a chance that Gemini 2.0 Pro beats this model here, because DeepSeek is definitely beating it, DeepSeek 3, and then so. Highlighting that overall very specifically, what they do are smashing on is the context window, how they're doing that, and then what they're utilizing with the context window is they're utilizing a method called rope, which is it's a very new method, very unique. It essentially increases the stochasticity and allows it to, so like when you do it, it doesn't drop all of the zeros and drop down to zero after a certain point, which works well. But then it's in a real all of the methods around rope, all of the test methods, they're all based on like in academic settings so far, and not in real world settings. Like in the real world settings that I've seen around rope, and kind of the corporate tests and things like that, what I've seen with it is that it has it has like the needle in the haystack problem and the man in the man in the middle problem, where it's like data set in the middle is worse to harder for the model to find than data sets towards the end. Like it's just like it has all the same problems that you do when you scale up the context to that size. And then, as mentioned, like that you can only get that 10 million with the smaller model anyway, and so you're limited on that, and that's just pure physics, right? No one can, like, Meta can't get around it. No one can get around it. I keep highlighting and pointing these things out. Like these are physics limitations and physics blocks, right? But most importantly, so here they're highlighting the needle in the haystack problem, and then showing like, but like even on their best test, right? It's still like there's a needle in the haystack problem. It still exists, and that's what they're showing and showcasing here, right? And then, but so then we get into here the actual like fine-tuned benchmarks, and then this is what I want to like showcase and like. Talk about and highlight overall here. So first of all, like they're showcasing this against Gamma 3 27B, right? So like first of all, like Llama 4 Scout is what was it, like 100, it's a 109 billion parameter model. So it's a bigger model than all of these that they're showcasing here by a significant margin. It's just that like their active inference, like their like the active um amount of like active like experts that need to be on is what they're saying is like 17 billion parameters, right? So they're classing it as a 17 billion parameter model because of the number of active experts, but then at the same time it's a 108 billion parameter model, and then so that's just what it is, right? So overall the model dwarfs these models that they're comparing it to by multiple sizes. They're comparing the Llama 4 Scout to the small category in this instance, and small models, and then kind of older models too. And then it's we can see here that it's, oh, they do have Gemini 2. Well, it's Gemini 2 Flash Lite, right? So it's beating. And according to their benchmarks, it's beating all of these. But like, look at the Gemini 2 flashlight is coming very close in some of these instances to the model here. And then I think there's one. Oh, here it is. Well, it's losing to Llama 3.3 on one of the benchmarks here, which is actually interesting, right? And then that's interesting as far as their live code benchmark. So they're like, according to their live code benchmark, and again, these are Meta's own tests, right? So they're telling you that Llama 3.3 is beating Gamma 3 with regards towards coding overall. Like, I would think that's not true overall. So like, to me, again, you can see that this is a bit of their own inflation when it comes to these results. But what you see is that there's nothing smashing within this, right? Like there's and then like this is the most important one to me. This is the behemoth, right? Like this is we aren't going to get better than this overall. And then again, they're only doing it against Gemini 2.0 Pro and then GPT 4.5 in a few instances. But then you can see against, so when they're doing it against GPT 4.5, like it's not beating it by anything significant, right? 73.7 on the GPQA Diamond compared to 71.4. On multilingual, it's 85.8 compared to 85.1. And then on image reasoning, it's 76.1 compared to 74.4. And then so and then they're only utilizing Gemini 2.0 Pro. If it was Gemini, like, and it could be 2.5 because they have Claude 2.7, 3.7 here, right? And then just interesting how they choose to set this up. And then even with this, like the best possible testing that they can do, like, and so this is 2 trillion parameters through the kitchen sink at this model, all of the latest innovations, all like rope, everything else, right? This whole like the uniqueness with regards towards the experts, etc. And then it's not beating out GPT 4.5, right? And then like if you're paying attention to the news, GPT 5 was delayed again. Within, like, it was announced and like, oh, we're going to release GPT 5 and then like not going to delay it, and then they delayed it. Reason like being is the same reasons here, right? Like there's like, what do you like? You can't put out a model that's going to score worse on these charts, and then so coming out with this, like this is the best that they can do at the like. I can't point that out enough, right? Like if there was something in the reserves, they wouldn't be putting out models with benchmarks like this, right? I can't, like, that's just the, like, if you're still thinking on the fence, like maybe there's something like back there that's being held back. They why would, like, there wouldn't be any reason to spend all the money to build and train a 2 trillion parameter model, like, I mean, like a nuclear power plant, like more training than a supercomputer, and then hold something back, and then just to like have it compete with GPT 4.5, and then so it's going to get clocked out by whatever, like this model is going to get beat in 3 days by Quen, like when the next Quen update comes out. Like I think that's what's going to happen flat out. Like and then so that's kind of the bottom line of where we're at with this overall. Like we have this is peak performance. Like I can't stress that enough, and a lot of people are going to be hurt by that, I think, like in the end, once this tumbles out, right? Like they're like thinking that the train can just keep going up. Like this is the train hitting a massive brick wall. Like, and this brick wall has been existing on these like if you've been paying attention, like this brick wall has been in existence like since like I mean essentially the start of 2025, right? Like everything that I've seen has been along these lines, which is why when like Llama 4 first released, first thing I came was here, and I was like, okay, like there we go. And then I read through the rest, and I caught up from there. But my first thing was, let's look at the benchmarks. Okay, it actually doesn't do anything overall in terms of improving performance compared to where we are at compared to other models, and so like I mean it's. Very specifically, like this is like they chose 2 trillion parameters because it's like no one's gonna ever go past that, right? And then so it's here it is. Here's the end. They also, I mean, their head of AI just recently quit, right? I would too. Like I wouldn't like. There's nowhere to go from here. Like there's, I mean, I can't stay. Like if you understand this, if you understand even half of this equation, this is a dead end. Like this is a dead architecture, flat out. Like I would not support this architecture. I can't tell you it's going to lead to workable agents. Like I can't tell you that it's going to lead to better performance than it is here. It's led to a lot of parlor tricks, right? Like I look at it like Gen AI to me, flat out honest, is like carny games. Like it's step right up, step right up. It's like okay, we've gotten that we can create cool images with it and videos and NLP. Like solving like NLP was big. I like that's a huge thing to crack and to solve, because that does open up a lot of different avenues to me, right? Especially with like being able to code with logic and the whole like bringing logic closer to machine learning, like machine language. I think was like the biggest breakthrough to me personally with solving NLP. But so I guess I mean there is utility and value there, but I mean I can't say it enough. I think Transformers is this is like the beginning of the end. Like, and I don't think that's bad, right? Like Transformers was good for what it was, and that's how technology works. Technology works like where something. Replaces and technology moves on. And like Transformers had a good run. We've maxed them out to its full potential. I've certainly learned a lot from it. I appreciate people spending and wasting billions of dollars on it so that I could learn from it. I would have preferred overall for the overall economy for that not to happen, but I do appreciate the educational aspect of it, and I can't but like I wouldn't spend and invest a singular dollar in the future of this particular technology. And that's my 100% stance on this. I can't state that enough. And then so if you like this type of content, please like and subscribe. Thank you very much.